In the previous spoiler, it was mentioned that when Luo Feng met Primal Chaos City leader after completing the inheritance of the Star Tower, the city leader keenly sensed that Luo Feng had gained the recognition of the teleportation aspect of the original law of space. In fact, although Luo Feng's cultivation in the Beast God path was enough to allow him to challenge the World Master level Heavenly Mountain, his comprehension of the original law of space was only equivalent to the 18th level of the Heavenly Bridge, where he had yet to truly grasp the essence of teleportation. As favored by the original law of space, the engravings on the core crystal of his Mashaklan clone greatly enhanced its resonance with the law, allowing it to genuinely perform teleportation. The law's recognition directly acts upon the life core, which means that once one clone gains such recognition, the same law imprint will automatically appear on all other clones as well. After learning that Luo Feng planned to venture into the cosmic secret realms after returning from the extraterritorial battlefield, the Primal Chaos City leader grew concerned and repeatedly advised him to first break through to immortality, strengthening his survivability before continuing his trials. Yet Luo Feng, who only had one remaining opportunity to nurture a new clone, had not decided what form the third clone should take and was unwilling to make such a hasty choice. After all, whether within the treasure vaults of the Virtual Universe Company or among the Hong Alliance's collections of special life remains, most specimens were of the immortal level, while World Master level samples were exceedingly rare, and those meeting his criteria even scarcer. It should be noted that special lifeforms almost never reproduce, and before attaining immortality, they are usually heavily protected and hidden within the cosmic secret realms. Thus, Luo Feng had to personally enter these realms to seek the most compatible target. Since only a strand of hair or a fragment of scale was required to nurture a new clone, obtaining one was difficult, but not impossible. Seeing that Luo Feng's decision was firm, Primal Chaos City leader no longer pressed him, only reminding him to act cautiously and within his limits. At the same time, Luo Feng also remembered the instructions of Sitting Mountain Guest, where before breaking through to immortality, he had to travel to a cosmic secret realm, complete the trial set by Sitting Mountain Guest, and obtain the third metal plate to continue cultivating the third stage of the Nine Calamities secret tome. Hence, Luo Feng naturally had no intention of rushing his breakthrough to the immortal level. After meeting with Primal Chaos City leader, Luo Feng did not forget to visit King Jinyan. The two shared drinks and engaged in casual conversation. During their talk, Luo Feng mentioned the heavy-grade treasure he had acquired from King Purple Bell, the Purple Bell, and expressed his intention to gift it to King Jinyan. It should be known that treasures of the heavy grade and above not only enhance the wielder's power amplitude in both attack and defense, but the fixed engravings inscribed upon them also hold immense value for law comprehension. Whether one can fully activate these engravings depends heavily on their mastery of the laws. Thus, through long-term use of such a treasure, whether by subtle influence or direct study, a cultivator's understanding of the laws can deepen, and sometimes even lead to a breakthrough through sudden inspiration. Unfortunately, the Purple Bell was a dual-attribute treasure of fire and space, offering little benefit to those who cultivate original law of Earth. For an invincible king immortal like King Jinyan, who stood on the verge of becoming a universe venerable, its usefulness was negligible. His goal was to fully integrate the three profound mysteries of the original law of space, achieve complete comprehension, and break through to the universe venerable level. Moreover, King Jinyan already possessed several heavy treasures, while Luo Feng, still only at the world master level, had risked his life countless times on the extraterritorial battlefield to obtain one. Luo Feng's gesture, born of pure sincerity, greatly moved King Jinyan. How could he possibly covet something his disciple had earned through such hardship? In their conversation, King Jinyan also inquired with concern about Luo Feng's family. After all, the farewell letter Luo Feng had once left behind had caused Su Xian great distress. Upon learning that Luo Feng's family had been dragged into conflicts due to malicious rumors, King Jinyan sternly advised him to investigate the true instigator behind the scenes, lest hostile alien races were secretly sowing discord to stir further trouble. After all, with Luo Feng's current identity and status, how could a mere low-tier king immortal dare to allow his clan members to oppress the Luo family so recklessly? Unless he had accepted bribes from alien forces, it was highly likely he had long become their puppet. For that very reason, the king immortal had no choice but to comply with every one of Luo Feng's demands, even at the cost of surrendering 99% of his clan's wealth, in order to resolve the conflict completely. He even executed the offending clan members himself to avoid being branded a traitor to the human race. Though Luo Feng's conditions for peace seemed harsh, they were, in fact, merciful, which giving the opposing side a chance to admit their mistakes without total destruction. As long as Luo Feng chose not to pursue further vengeance, the other clan could, with its remaining foundation, possibly recover and rise again in 1,000,000 or even 100 million years. Luo Feng's decisive action quickly spread across the major families of the universe, producing a powerful deterrent effect. After this incident, Luo Feng realized deeply that if he were to remain absent from the family for too long, the Luo clan would inevitably become a target for those with ulterior motives. Thus, he is planning cultivating immortal-grade plant lifeforms to serve as guardians for his family's safety. In fact, Suexian had already made preparations long in advance. About 100 years earlier, she had used part of the funds Luo Feng left behind to help several Mo Yun vine and star-eating grass successfully evolve to the marquee immortal level. After all, with Luo Feng then still lost on the extraterritorial battlefield with his fate unknown, Suexian naturally had to lay down multiple layers of protection to safeguard the Luo family's future. After bidding farewell to his two teachers, Luo Feng remained in the virtual universe to reunite with his family and share a grand dinner together. After spending a few days with them, he finally logged out and returned to real life. By then, the person at the top of his vengeance list was, of course, King Tianjin, the one who had crossed him thousands of years ago. However, the military laws of the extraterritorial battlefield were extremely strict, where members of the same faction were forbidden from killing one another. Any violator would be executed without exception. Even with Luo Feng's special status, acting without solid evidence would still result in legal punishment. Thus, he could only exploit loopholes within the military code to secretly plan his revenge. Naturally, Luo Feng's primary goal was to control King Tianjin as his sole slave. After all, King Tianjin was a peak king immortal skilled in soul aspect. If Luo Feng could bring him under control, he would gain the ability to manipulate even more powerful beings for his own use. Luo Feng immediately ordered King Heavy Arrow to teleport to him via his Divine Kingdom's transmission, while also communicating with the consciousness of the Star Tower to confirm whether the King Tianjin was still within it. It is worth mentioning that high-grade weapons, after countless eras of absorbing cosmic energy or being tempered in killing grounds, sometimes develop a rudimentary self-consciousness. Though such consciousnesses lack emotional depth compared to intelligent lifeforms like Babata, their capacity for thought and calculation is by no means inferior. The Star Tower, in particular, was personally forged by Sitting Mountain Guest back when he was still the God King of Forging, so imbuing it with a strand of consciousness was naturally no difficult feat after all, even in the original universe where forging techniques are far inferior to his ordinary cosmic spaceships can possess intelligence. How much more so for a supreme treasure personally crafted by the God King of Forging? Upon learning that King Tianjin had already left the Star Tower roughly 2,000 years ago, Luo Feng promptly adjusted his strategy and devised a new plan. Whether on the extraterritorial battlefield or within human territory, he had countless ways to deal with his target and there was no need to rush. For now, Luo Feng decided to take advantage of his position as the master of the Star Tower to conduct a hunting operation inside it. As its controller, he could freely manipulate the entrances and exits of its forbidden zones. A sealed forbidden space with no exit was no different from an unbreakable cage where its prey's life and death lay entirely in his hands. This time, Luo Feng's targets were Peak King Immortals skilled in soul aspects and Limit King Immortals. Soon, with the assistance of the Star Tower's consciousness, he locked onto a squad of King Immortals from the Demon Race faction, whose leader happened to be a Peak King Immortal skilled in soul aspect. As Luo Feng emerged from the spatial passage, the alien King Immortals immediately raised their guard, ready for battle, but none showed any sign of retreat. After all, from the recorded footage of the battle that had made King Blade River famous, they already knew that this man possessed astonishing physical defense and wielded an extremely rare blade which both signs of immense wealth. However, those same reports contained no record of King Blade River ever personally slaying a Peak King Immortal or higher. The alien squad's leader mistakenly assumed that Luo Feng's soul defense was his weak point. While instructing his subordinates to pin down King Heavy Arrows, he launched a powerful illusion attack, attempting to seize control of Luo Feng's mind. Yet he had no idea that his attack was already weakened by over 90% by Luo Feng's general armor. With nothing more than the Beast God's Roar, one of the ultimate techniques from the Shi Luo Duo secret techniques, Luo Feng completely dispelled the remaining force, utterly unaffected by the illusion. In fact, after fusing with the general soul, Luo Feng's spiritual energy had already reached the level of a low-tier King Immortal. Empowered by his formidable will and consciousness, his overall strength was comparable to a Peak King Immortal. Combined with the Star Scroll, a treasure whose might rivaled that of an arcana, Luo Feng's power as a spiritual master already surpassed that of most Limit King Immortals. When he unleashed the sealed stars, the impact shattered the alien leader's muscles and bones. Though the enemy's divine body rapidly regenerated, terror flashed in his eyes. When his illusion failed, the alien leader immediately switched tactics, unleashing a terrifying soul strike, hoping to annihilate Luo Feng's consciousness. Yet the attack was effortlessly neutralized once again. Having tested the base power of the sealed stars, Luo Feng no longer wasted time. He invoked his secret technique, driving the sealed stars to evolve into heaven-tearing claw. Guided by the power of the law, the stars might soar exponentially where one strike was all it took to collapse the alien leader's divine body. Taking advantage of the moment, Luo Feng hurled a toxin-laced sealed star at the reforming body, instantly erasing more than half of it. Realizing his intelligence had been fatally wrong, the alien leader, overwhelmed with fear, ordered a full retreat. But Luo Feng, sensing his opponent's divine body was down to less than a tenth of its original strength, attempted a soul control technique to enslave him. Despite Luo Feng's unshakable will, he was ultimately not a pure soul master, and the control attempt failed. Refusing to become a slave for eternity, when the alien leader broke free of the technique, he chose to self-destruct. With his plan foiled, Luo Feng immediately ordered King Heavy Arrows to annihilate the remaining alien King Immortals, while he continued his hunt for the next peak King Immortal skilled in soul aspect as prey. Spatial passages appeared and vanished at Luo Feng's will, turning the entire star tower into his personal hunting ground. However, as Luo Feng was not truly a soul master, his early hunts proved frustrating. Even if he maintained 3 battles a day, he still couldn't successfully control a soul slave after 12 battles. Determined to overcome this shortcoming, Luo Feng devoted nearly all his remaining time aside from combat to studying and refining the practical use of the 10,000 soul control technique. You might be wondering, since the power of the laws clearly amplifies the attacks of both warriors and spiritual controllers, why must illusionists also comprehend the original laws? In fact, an illusion is nothing more than a construct woven by the illusionist's consciousness and will, using spiritual energy, world energy, or immortal divine power to form a virtual scene within the target's mind. However, illusions are inherently intangible. If the victim's willpower is firm and their mind clear, they can easily see through the deception, causing the illusion to collapse on its own. This is precisely why illusionists must rely on the power of the laws which to blur the boundary between illusion and reality, making the false seem real, so that the victim cannot distinguish truth from illusion, ultimately sinking into it and even meeting their demise as a result. The principle behind soul enslavement techniques is quite similar. The infusion of law power makes these secret techniques vastly more intricate and not only multiplying the difficulty of breaking free but also granting the caster sufficient time to imprint their spiritual imprint deep into the target's soul core, forcing them into complete submission. Thus, when Luo Feng's mastery of the 10,000 soul control technique finally reached a transformative stage, he succeeded in enslaving his first peak King Immortal skilled in soul aspect, King Honed Heart, in his 14th battle. With King Honed Heart's aid, the efficiency of Luo Feng's soul enslavement operations rose dramatically. As time passed, within just 6 short days, rumors spread across the battlefield. Nearly 50 King Immortal had perished at King Blade River's hands, excluding the weaker ones who died too quickly to even count. The news sent shockwaves through the ranks of countless King Immortals. Many battle-hungry warriors and self-assured powerhouses, believing they could match King Blade River, began forming alliances, swearing to join forces and hunt him down. As more and more powerful figures joined the fray, the situation inside the Star Tower grew ever more bloody and chaotic. The slaughter intensified without end, turning the entire region into a Shura field drenched in carnage. Faced with this ever-expanding storm of bloodshed, the weaker King Immortals chose to flee the Star Tower altogether, fearing they would become collateral victims or worse, the next prey of King Blade River. After all, more than 10 Soul Masters had already perished by his hand, and even Limit King Immortals had not been spared. The sheer terror of King Blade River's strength was now beyond doubt. Because of this, even near-convincible King Immortals such as King Lifefall began to fix their sights on Luo Feng, offering astronomical bounties for the exact location of King Blade River. After all, at their level, slaying ordinary peak or even limit King Immortals was easy, but killing too many would only provoke outrage and risk a siege from higher powers. By contrast, a target like King Blade River, whose power, though not godlike, was coupled with staggering wealth, which was the most ideal and tempting prey one could find on the extraterritorial battlefield. Yet, just as the aura of mass slaughter shrouded the entire Star Tower, King Blade River's presence suddenly vanished without a trace. The fact was that, after successfully enslaving King Honed Heart and several Limit King Immortals, from the 7th day onward, Luo Feng chose to conceal his whereabouts and let his unexposed soul slaves fight in his stead. Though his personal participation decreased, and the hunting efficiency dropped slightly, within merely 1 month, Luo Feng's gains remained astonishing, and he even acquired a heavy treasure in the process. To maximize its power, Luo Feng deliberately chose a Limit King Immortal who resonated most perfectly with the treasure, King Overflowing Water. At the same time, he found a more suitable wielder for the Purple Bell, King Extreme Rainbow, another Limit King level immortal, since King Heavy Arrow was not of the fire attribute and thus could not fully harness its strength. In this hunting campaign alone, more than 100 King Immortals perished because of Luo Feng. On the surface, it seemed as if he had struck unimaginable wealth, his accumulated fortune even surpassing that of King Jinyan, exceeding 1 trillion mixed yuan units. However, the strength of his 3 Soul Masters and 6 Limit King Immortals under his command was entirely dependent on Luo Feng alone. After all, only when the soul slaves are strong enough can they truly share their master's burdens and provide real assistance. King Jinyan, who had been keeping a close watch on Luo Feng's movements, couldn't help but feel worried when he learned of the massive upheaval Luo Feng had caused within the Star Tower. He even struggled to understand Luo Feng's intentions. After all, King Blade River's growing fame had been built atop the demise of countless alien powerhouses. Without sufficient strength to match such renown, excessive fame would only attract even more terrifying enemies and calamities. Upon hearing that Luo Feng had recently gained some fortuitous opportunities and was brimming with confidence to face the formidable foes ahead, King Jinyan could only repeatedly remind him to act with caution, while also looking forward to his disciples' next display of power. Now, Luo Feng's next target was none other than the one who had once schemed against him, King Tianjun. So, will Luo Feng succeed in capturing this man? And will he manage to evade the punishment of military law? Stay tuned for the next spoiler, where I'll reveal it all. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.